Hello, thanks very much for joining me. Today's river pattern is going to be a Perdigon nymph. So in the vise I have a Hanak 490 jig trophy barbless hook at size 14. It's a heavy wired hook and I will couple that together with a small slotted tungsten bead at 3mm. So the thread I'm going to be using initially is the UTC thread in black, and it's at 140 denier. So first thing to do is get a little bit of wax on the front of our thread. Push the bead right over the eye, catch in your thread and make a raised platform to hold the bead in place, like so. Okay, I can use my thread as a guide to come back. That's about as far as I want to go with that. I'm going to come in with my snips and just remove my waste. Now the tail of the fly, I'm going to use some Coq de Lion. Lovely thin barred feathers, really nice these. I've already taken a feather out of that little pack there and I have it here. So I'm going to grab 4 to 5 strands of the Coq de Lion. Depending on the size of the fly you tie, will depend on how many you take. Now, I want this to be about 3/4 of the length of the body. Just going to hold that in place. Just put one turn in. Just straighten everything up. Make sure you've got it where you want it. And bring in another turn, just to hold it into place. So now your excess can be removed. I'll just move my fingers there so you can see I've left a fair bit there. The rib I'm going to use on this fly is this red Perdigon stuff that I got from Trout line. It's a very thin wire and I'll just take a little section of that off. And what I'm going to do is push that in to the slot and catch it in. Now I want my thread to flatten out, so I'm going to turn my thread anti-clockwise and I'm going to build my body. The UTC is great for this kind of pattern because it just sits out. If it starts to spin up on you, just give it another little twist and it'll flatten out no problem. And if you notice, what I've got is quite a nice taper going on now. So I'm happy with that. I've got a nice tapered body down the front here, and I'm now going to come in the opposite direction with my wire, and the red really stands out against the black, gives it a really nice effect. So I'll bring that all the way up to the top, catch it in with a couple of turns of my thread, like so. Pull the wire to the side, get a couple of turns in front of the wire, then keeping tension on the thread, simply pull that away. Now at this point I'm going to just put a couple of half hitches in to keep my thread there, and then I can remove that bit of thread. Okay, that's us finished with the UTC. Let's have a look at what we've got, and that's looking okay. Okay, next I'm going to add some flow orange thread. This is from Simplify. It's a nice orange colour. I'm just going to get a little bit of wax onto my thread, and then it's already pre-waxed, but I never think it hurts to just get a bit more just to hold that in place. So once I've got that on, I'm going to remove my rat's tail and I'm going to add a little bit of flat tinsel. This is the copper. I've already taken a tiny amount off and I'm going to catch that in. And I'm looking for about 1/8 of an inch. I've brought my thread back there. Now before I do anything else, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of super glue to the head here at this point, because what I don't want it to do is start slipping down the fly. This is very slippy, and if you don't add the super glue, you can occasionally get a bit of slippage, and it's a bit annoying when it ends up halfway down your body. So a bit of super glue on the head there just prevents that. I'll just finish that up there. Then I can bring all the way to the bead, bring my thread over, a couple of turns in, a couple of turns in front, and then just remove that. Okay, that's looking okay. I'm just going to finish off now with a few more turns. I want to create an orange band at the head here. Then with a little bit of UV resin on the thread, I can finish that off like so. Excuse my fingers. So once I've cut that in place, I can just come in with my pen and cure that away. Okay, the thing with the Perdigon nymph is that it doesn't have any dubbing. Generally it doesn't have any dubbing, and the idea is once it's varnished up or UV resined up, as I'm about to do, it sinks really quickly. So next thing, we're going to add a little bit of a thorax cover, and the thorax is done in black, so I'm using some of the hot coloured Trout line black UV resin. Now it comes on a big brush, which is about as much use as a chocolate ashtray. See, you know, how am I going to get a little pop? So what I'm going to do is use my bodkin needle to take a little bit of the resin off. Thankfully it's quite thick, which makes it a lot easier to work with than it otherwise would have been. So I'm going to just get a small globule on like so, and that takes a bit of practice. I know it might have looked pretty straightforward, but trust me when I tell you, I've tied more than a couple of flies that I've had to strip down because I got this bit wrong with the black. So there we go. That seems to have gone okay, thankfully. And honestly, that was my first go at it. I've not done this 5 or 6 times for the camera. It's just taking quite a bit of practice to get there. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to loosen up my vise. And I'm going to come in with my normal Solaris UV resin. And I'm going to give it a coat. All the way around the fly. Try not to come onto your tail. Now if I come in with my pen, cure that off. Now you can just see that this fly is, it's got quite a sleek profile. It's got that little bit of colour in at the thorax that's so attractive to trout and grayling. And I understand why it's become such a successful fly, the world over actually. So, now I'm not quite finished. What I'm going to do is use some of the transparent UV resin from Trout line, and this is meant for Perdigon nymphs. So I'm going to just take a little bit on my needle and rub it on, and this will finish it off and give it a really shiny finish, which is what I like on this kind of fly. Now I know it seems a lot of trouble, but when you start getting going with it, it doesn't take as long as you'd think. It's quite a quick fly to tie. I've obviously just taken my time here for tutorial purposes, but you can knock these out fairly rapid. And as I say, they work well for both trout and grayling. Again, you can do a lot of variation with this. Your imagination is your only limit. So there we go. I hope that was of some use to you. That's nice and dry now. And I'll see you next time. If you like what I'm doing here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's how to do it.